In the air to right, and he did it again!
Thank you all for watching this here video. Please like and subscribe and follow.
Welcome back to another Lefties 2 broadcast. Today we're doing the outfielder ranking. Haven't done this video in a long time. Now there's 29 outfielders in the game. Who is number 1? Who is number 29? That's really the reason why you're all here. Who is the worst ranked outfielder in the game? Stay tuned. Let's find out now. Okay, here we go. As I said before, when it comes to rankings, I can't be wrong, but you can disagree with me. Just coming from my opinion, everybody. All right. And again, this list is actually pretty tough going through it. Again, the top 100 list could be a little bit different because that's just the overall players. Right. You could think like, oh, it's the top 100 players, because there's even a couple players now that have been included, such as Justice, they're not in the top 100 list. But this is just outfield. So overall players, what I think of them does not necessarily connect to a top 100 list. So you can't just kind of connect them both. You would think so, but it's not exactly that. And again, I haven't done this video for a long time. The last one I did, I'll put it here in the description, was 1 through 21. So they've added 8 outfielders over that maybe 2 years that I've done this video. So let's go ahead right into it right now and get into the outfielders, number 29. And again, I took a really deep, dark look into this and just kind of figure out who the worst outfielder in the game is. And my guy, Joe. Joe is the worst outfielder in this game. And again, a lot of people might get mad at that because his defense, his throwing, his fielding are impeccable, but his offensive liability is pretty bad. Like, I mean, even a speed, 196 speed at level 14, pretty respectable. But again, for this game and how this game operates, again, when there are no runners on, when fielding and there's no runners on, his speed goes faster, right? So again, in the 9th inning, he's great, but again, 10th, 11th, 12th, when there's runners on, tough. Clash League, maybe a little bit different. His speed increases quite a bit, and his fielding is even better, so he's probably less likely to make errors at 249 fielding. But again, nobody in the top uses Joe. Most people in the middle don't use Joe. The only time you're using Joe is a rookie, and you're doing it because it's a giant mistake, right? As it says in his bio, he loves the casino, right? It's a gamble if you're taking Joe. Again, if you're a free-to-play player, you know, Joe in the beginning is not bad, but he's not going to win you a lot of games. Just put it that way, right? Okay, that's number 29. Number 28. Oh, boy. Number 28. We're looking in the comments, and it's our guy, Russell. Very optimistic. And again, you're very optimistic if you're putting him in your lineup as you progress. Again, not a terrible spot with 232 speed, right? Power 189, not terrible. When runners are in scoring position, he does come through clutch, right? Because typical is contact 176, so 190 runners in scoring position with 189 power. So he's a clutch player. But however, again, 189 fielding, throwing, not that great. If you're you got to ask yourself, why are you putting him in the game? Speed. There are other common players with better speed, right? Better contact, better. I mean, just overall. So Russell sitting there, number 28. Number 27, probably a controversial one, but it again is my list, and I have a reason. Santiago. And you're looking at his stats, and you're listening to me talk, right? As a child, he suffered an accident that resulted in loss of one of his eyes. Again, if you put him in your lineup, it's probably because you suffered from an accident. Maybe not losing your eyes, but maybe losing some sense, right? His skill, the batting guide, is visible when hitting. Again, having something that disrupts your ability to hit. Again, contact 225, power 202, power, speed pretty average, right there 182, throwing not terrible at 182 as well. But again, man, he's one of those players in the game that when you're trying to hit, and you're a manual hitter, if you're an auto bat hitter, it doesn't really matter. But if you're manual, his nanotechnology really just messes up your ability to actually use his contact and power, which make it, again, contact and power, average speed, terrible throwing ability, way better players to put him in for that. Go along with the distraction at batting, not ideal. All right. So number 26, I wish he was higher. I wish this guy was higher. Number 26 is Rama. Again, compare him with Joe. Right? Joe's fielding 1,000 times better, but their hitting is pretty comparable. Throwing is more what you want. Again, Joe's throwing not too bad, but his speed and his throwing make him already better than Joe. Hitting, again, comparable in that sense. But if you're going to put Rama in the game, it's because you want that cannon of an arm. And then when in a pop fly, you get that cannon as well. Right? If you're a pop-up type of pitcher, right? You get a fly ball pitcher, right? Rama's going to be a lot more valuable than Joe ever is. Plus, when you get him on base, speed does come through. And he does have that weird kind of like OP style like power that does come through sometimes. But yeah, so he is sitting there, Rama, at number 26. And again, I debated for this next player to put him and Rama kind of flipping him, but I have to say Wang gets the edge at number 25 because of his overall consistency. If you're a rookie player, free-to-play player, and you get Wang in the game, you're going to be better off because, one, he's not an event card. You could actually level him up faster than you would probably Rama. That's more accessible, right? The best ability in this game is availability, and Rama just doesn't come around enough for you to get him leveled up high enough where you can get Wang in the game. 189 contact, right? 196 power, speed, throwing, and fielding at one. Guys, overall, and then underthrowing pitchers, again, not a lot, but Luna, Jay, Caroline coming through in that clutch with the extra power. So again, if you have Wang in your lineup, you're probably a rookie player in the game. Most people at the top tier level are not going to have a level 14, level 13 Rama in their lineups on a consistent basis, but he is Mr. Reliable. So if you have him in there, no problem. All right, number 24, Christine. This one was tough to put her so low because of that power and her contact at 182, speed 199 when she gets into second base. This is the flaw, having her low. When she's at second or third, the running speed increases. But that doesn't help when, say, you get a double, or say she starts at first base and you hit it. It doesn't automatically switch. You have to wait until the next pitch, which is not really fair. If a player gets to second or third, right, they should be able to increase that speed to have more clutch ability. But again, if you're looking for a clutch power hitter in your early days of playing, Christine is definitely one that you could definitely for sure use. But again, just not there overall amongst the other outfielders to why you're having her in the game. All right, number 23, we're looking at Phoenix, right? She's been buffed a little bit with a little extra contact at 192. Power still pretty low at 169. I mean, that's pretty low as you can go. Speed in throwing, right? That's where you're at. You kind of comparable to Rama, except Rama has that extra throw. Building comparable as well as a lot of the other worse fielders in the game. But a lot of top tier players have been using her because she's essentially not exact, but she's the outfield version of like Fox. When she's stealing, the speed definitely goes up, putting that 216 right to 240 speed on stolen bases, which definitely helps out quite a bit. Not as a guarantee as Fox, but she's been used quite a bit ever since her buff at the contact ability, making her more usable in the outfield for a cheap alternative. Again, Rama, not as good of an offensive player as Phoenix, but hard to get. So Phoenix, a lot of top tier players are starting to use her in the lineup as a cheap version, especially at level 14. All right. Next, another controversial player, underrated in my opinion, but in the top tier ranking, number 22, we're looking at Johnson. All right, Johnson You look at his contact and power, pretty up there, right? With 196 contact, 212 power, and that throwing at 192 and the fielding at 186. So pretty reliable, in my opinion, as an overall well-rounded player. Again, batter's eye. Again, one of the original players in the game. That predictability came through, but you just don't know what pitch it's going to be, strike or not strike. So sometimes having that red or blue dot come in randomly, the blue dot helps, but that red dot, you're looking at it, but you have to make a guess on what type of pitch is coming as well. So again, he could be higher, but unlike the infielder version of him, Emily, where you predict a pitch, you get the location because you predicted the type of pitch. It makes it a little bit easier to more when you see the strike or the ball. So Johnson's sitting there at number 22. Number 21, we are looking at Chris, right? Number 21 is Chris. Chris, again, an overall well-rounded player, solid contact at 202, speed 212, throwing 189, not bad. Power, 186, about average, and fielding pretty, below average in that sense. But he does help the other outfielders, so he's a good pairing. Right, you do get to connect, and he makes the other outfielders better by increasing their speed, which is kind of what you want. But his overall ability for himself, just kind of whatever out there. But the reason why he gets that nod over Johnson is because he does help the other two outfielders improve their skills. So Chris right there at 21. Number 20, Morgan. Morgan's sitting there at number 20, right? 222 contact, 212 speed. Again, power 179, not great. Throwing 179, and then fielding 169. But again, she's really great later in Clash League because again, the later the innings go, the more power she has, making her a great clutch off the bench outfielder if you need it in the game. Depending on your outfield already, how it's already set. But that clutch ability comes through with offense. And again, the fact that she has good speed and good contact allows her to be a solid leadoff hitter in a regular play and Clash League if you want it. Because again, that leadoff ability with the good high contact and good speed, if the game goes longer, that 12th inning, she becomes that clutch power hitter off the bench. Or again, not in regular play, solid. So Morgan right there at number 20. Number 19. Number 19 is Clemens. Again, not the offensive weapon you wanted. Speed at 196. The throwing at 232. Fielding. Now, again, you look at the throwing. Why is he at number 19? Because there's other throwers that are better than him, and offense will be better as well. Again, compare him with Rama as throwing. The problem with Clemens, he'd be better if he didn't always sometimes hit the cutoff man, right? And you can, like it's him or Rama. Again, best ability is availability. Easier to level up Clemens than Rama, even though Rama is a common card, but still an event card. But Clemens with a good thrower. Again, another top tier outfielder that a lot of people do use in the upper echelons of this game. And if you're a rookie, still pretty solid. Put him in that right field spot and can gun down some people at a cheaper cost than the other higher, say, legendary outfielders that have cannon arms. All right, number 18, Alexander. Right, Alexander, 212 contact, 232 speed, power 169 throwing, and fielding not that great at level 14. But again, with the high contact, high speed, makes for a great leadoff. And then he tags. Whenever he tags, you could steal. Again, people that are not paying attention, right? You get a pop up somewhere in the infield or even like shallow outfield. His ability comes through, and you can sometimes steal an extra 90 feet with his ability. Out there doesn't come into play way too much, depending on what style player you are. But just overall, as a common, again, he's available. You can get him, you can level him up, and he becomes pretty solid as just a good leadoff batter. So solid option there. Okay, number 17. And I believe this is our first legendary, is Justice. I don't have Justice stats right off the bat here. Doesn't matter. The reason why he's the worst legendary outfielder, in my opinion, is because of his ability, right? You can hover over certain spots, which is kind of cool. But the fact is, you can't hug the corners, which is a lot of pitchers pitch in those corners. So then his ability to have that high contact, high power, right, kind of messes you up a little bit because it might kind of happen in when it's a ball. So you might get a little excited and it's still a ball being thrown. He needs to have more. The ideal would have been better if you could hover or pick like strike zones. So 3 down, 3 across, diagonal, whatever you want. That would have been a little bit better, I think, to be able to have that kind of control. But I just don't like him because his speed, throwing, and fielding are really bad. Contact power, great. But again, the fact is his skill can go against you because you can throw a ball out of the zone and his skill can still go off. So that's why he's the worst legendary. All right, number 16, we have Ruth. Ruth, back in the day, would have been a lot higher here. Contact at 186, power 202, so pretty solid. 222 speed, throwing 179, fielding 189. So pretty good overall. But the fact of the matter, the fact he can jump over the catcher back in the day, you know, you actually needed skill to throw him out. Now, a lot less skill to throw him out. And again, the complaints that would happen in the Facebook group, Reddit group, Discord group about him being like this crazy over unrealistic ability. There was a way to get him out back in the day, and it took actual skill. Now anybody can do it. A little bit of extra lack of timing, but still, Ruth overall still decent outfielder, even if you play him. That's why he gets number 16. Number 15. What you gonna do, my boy Koo? Koo, kind of like Wang. He's a rich man's Wang. Koo, 199 contact power and speed, throwing 192, fielding 173. So again, overall, all-around player. His diving ability, kind of cool. Does kind of backfire in some instances. But the fact that he's pretty solid at contact, power, and speed makes him super reliable. And the fact that throwing is still 192 is really great because of that clutch ability, right? At being able to make a decent throw in the outfield. All right, what's going on? Number 14. And this one is another controversial top 14, is Mark. Look at my batting average with Mark. Just recently got him to level 13 in the game. He is, again, he's over Koo because he's consistent in every single stat. At when the game is not tied, Koo is essentially better than he is, minus a little bit in throwing and fielding. But Koo, any part of the game, is at 199, 199, 199. But if it's a tie game, obviously at level 14 is at 222 all the way down. And, 196 all the way down at level 14. It's pretty good overall, but he has that edge over Koo because the throwing and the fielding. But again, his 5-tool player is not really 5 tools. It's not that great, right? 378 is, come on, like I'm much better than a 378 hitter with someone that should have stats like that. Anyways, let's move it on. Number 13, Ren. Ran is number 13. Again, high contact, high speed, makes for a great leadoff, right? 225 and the speed 212. When she does match with her sister Ray, there are stats on Miniclip that show the averages that do go up with them a little bit when they're connected. But the fact of the matter is she slows the ball down on fastballs, right? Where Ray, who's going to be outranking her, obviously, as any kind of pitch randomly, but only fastballs you kind of get the slowdown on. Power 182, so pretty decent, sneaky power, but that contact speed does help out. But she's sitting there at number 13. All right, number 12, Ryan. Again, top tier lineups, all the way to rookie lineups. Use Ryan still to this day. He's one of the first legendary players you do get in this game. I can't say don't use him as a rookie. But be wary that legendary cards are hard to level up if you're free to play. And as a rookie, too many legendary players put in your lineup, you might get stuck with Ryan. And as you get leveled up, right, you might want some other legendary outfielders in this game. But at 186 contact and then power at 176, right? not a good offensive tool. 192 speed, but the throwing 228, can throw from anywhere. It does not hit the cutoff. Not always completely accurate, but does keep runners in check. So that, and again, 196 fielding makes a pretty solid outfielder, but it does get the bump over like Clemens and Rama in that regard because one, uh, overall better offensively than those two, but still Ryan is a crutch player that a lot of people still use in this game. All right, a better option in my opinion, and essentially one you can level up. Number 11 is Max. Both, right? So the throwing is 212, less obviously, but the speed at 192, roughly the same. Fielding at 202. Contact again, 182, power 173. So not in there for offense at all, but the fact that his speed, I think at 192 in the outfield, he's a little faster with that little dash. He plays in and he plays back. He's able to essentially rob home runs. They're not the home run animation, but still a robbing where he jumps over the fence. So, ground rule doubles, he's going to prevent even shots off the wall and in foul territory. And he can still throw people out at first base from right field. I think it making him a much more valuable as an epic player than Ryan, in my opinion. All right. So let's go. We're here in the top 10. Number 10 is Ray. What do you say? I like Ray. Contact 212, power 192. That power is actually probably lower stat than her actual ability. Speed 192 as well. So overall, well-rounded offensive player. Her throwing at 186 doesn't make her pretty viable for a decent throwing arm out there, about average. Fielding, again, a lot of solid fielders, but again, she can get that slow motion on any pitch, not just a fastball. It is random, of course. But again, you match her up there with Ray and Ren, can't lose, right? With those two in the game, I think it makes for a pretty solid pairing. Give them a little extra boost. But she's number 10. Number 9. Number 9. Outfielder in the game is Michael Rowe, your boat ashore. Level 14. This guy is good as a rookie and a level 14 player on the cheap, right? With a 205 contact, 212 power. Against righties, that contact boosts up 18. Speed at 196. Again, a solid left fielder, not great at defense and throwing 179. So he's a great offensive tool in the game from levels, all levels, free to play, right? If you're a veteran and you need a cheap outfielder that's good contact, good power, decent speed, the guy's there, right? Again, if you're new to this game, Michael is a better option than a lot of the legendary players. It's going to take you a long time to level up. You can level up Michael within less than a year, right? If you're a free to play player, get in a good club, play the games, open the chest, Michael will be leveled up, assumingly after you're a pitcher or whoever you want leveled up. But a good, cheap, common, you get him pretty much right out the gate in this game. So a solid player you can have in your lineup forever. All right, number 8. Wanted to make her higher back in the day, probably was. Annie. Again, the pinnacle of leadoff hitters, 232, speed, 228, contact, power not there, throwing 179, not great. Fielding, again, like a lot of them, not great. My batting average, haven't used her in a lineup in a long time, but she's the toughest out for me. If you saw that video a long time ago, I cannot really get her out. She's probably batting a cool 800 against me. Little choppers up the middle and gappers all day. And, of course, that occasional annoying home run that you give up to her in the first pitch. Uh, those are always fun. But Annie, man, she's a top tier getter on base, and when she's on base, she's scoring most of the time. So tough out. Number 9, perennial leadoff batter in the game. All right, number 8. Excuse me, number 7. Number 7 is Rosa. Again, a legendary player here. 212 contact, 216 power, 179 speed, throwing 186, making her pretty viable. Not a lot of, probably a better left fielder with a little extra throwing ability, but she does have that ability. She once was a tennis pro, probably your Venus or Serena Williams, probably Serena, in my opinion, in the game. Again, Rosa's a beast. hits the bombs better than any female, right, player in the game, right? Out of all the female players in the game, I believe she does have the most power naturally. Again, Morgan can climb up there quite a bit, but Rosa sitting there number 7. All right, number 6, the top comment in the game, in my opinion, is Neville, right? That did give him a boost with offense at 202 contact, 189 power, plus 232 speed, throwing, fielding, whatever. This guy gets on base. He's kind of like the new Ruth. They did neuter him a little bit with that less of a slide, but still comes into play. That tricky first. It does. One downside about that slide, if you're trying to take extra bases, you gotta know you're going right away to get him to go to third or home from say second base or first base, because that slide does stop him. You know, you're not going to be able to take an extra base if he's in that slide. So you got to make your choice a little bit early. But Neville, he is now in those top 1% lineups in the world. So he is, again, used to be an event card. Now he's free. So you go get him. You're free to play. Get him in your lineup and request. His clutch ability, great 1 or 2 hole hitter, in my opinion. All right, top 5. And top 5, we got to go to actually my lineup. Antonio, number 5, 196, right? Contact, 212 power, 212 speed. Throwing and fielding, again, not great. Common thread, most of these. But the fact of the matter is, in Class League is even higher. I mean, number 5, he probably be like maybe 1 spot higher in Clash League, in my opinion. Because you put him in that leadoff or 2-hole, he's going to get another at bat in Clash League. So if you get that early hit, that early steal, he's coming through on the back end. Again, probably clutch unless you're nerfed. But still, Antonio, super high on my list. Love him. All right. Number 4. We're staying in my lineup, is King. Again, same concept. High contact, high power, speed at 189 speed. Pretty good. But his fielding at 186 makes him an even better left fielder, or in this case, I have him at right field because throwing is out the window for me. Don't really matter. But this guy is clutch because he's best bad ball hitter in the game. So you get lucky on those shots. King is there. Number 3, going off the board here. Number 3 is Dave. Now, again, throwing, fielding, speed, not in there. But the fact that his power is that he has that ability that on a bad ball like King, your timing is, if you hit it in the right spot, so you're going to have pretty good timing, you're getting shots. But the fact is, if you know how to hit late or early or on time, you're really good opportunity of hitting some bombs with Dave. You know, he might be replacing King in my lineup once he does get to level 13, which, 1 out of 20 will be probably another year plus. So it won't be for a while to see him at that high level, but he might be replacing King in the lineup one day. All right, number 2 is Jiro. Right, Jiro again is a highly skilled player, even if you're not skilled at this game. It's all about timing. So it's if you got good timing with the bat, perfect timing. It's an easy double. Plus, your runners are taking extra bases on the base path, right? So you want to have runners on base with them. So with his speed, 1, 2 hole is great, but I think better at the 3 hole or even a 5 hole, because of the fact you want runners on base guaranteed, right? So a solid 4, but there's better shots at 4. A lot of people have Kevin there in the infield, of course, but you maybe 3, maybe 5. But you want to get him in the game. So that's the thing. So 3 is probably a good spot for Jiro, in my opinion. And he will probably most likely be replacing Antonio whenever he gets to that level, which probably be a year and a half or more for him. Which you guys know, should not have to say it, number 1 is Hammer. Again, my opinion, best player in the game, still the scariest hitter in the game. Contact sitting there at 216, 225 power, and it increases. With 199 speed, the guy is a left fielder because of his lack of throwing, lack of fielding. But the fact is, he's going to get on base with a walk or you're hitting bombs, right? And again, it's one of those things where in the beginning, I didn't like the fact that you can waste pitches. But as I become a better 2-strike hitter, right? And a better at understanding the strike zone, cannot be afraid to just take pitches because most time you're going to get walked. So you're going to get on base and 199 speed, still pretty good. So for me, solid right there at 4 or 3. A lot of people have him at the leadoff spot as well because of that speed. But there it is, guys. That is the list 1 through 29. What do you think of the list? Let me know in the comments. And again, guys, as always, I cannot be wrong, but you can disagree. Thank you guys for watching and the Lefties 2 broadcast. We'll see you next time.